Jesus was fully God and fully man. He had no sin, and he was a true human being in every other way, except for the fact that he had no sin in him. He had fingerprints, his eyes were a certain color, he trimmed his toenails, he cleansed his teeth, he got tired, he slept, he even cried at times. The thing which we do not talk about so much is that he had emotions. Right? Jesus had emotions. See, the difference between our emotions and Jesus' emotions is that our emotions are infected with sin. But emotions themselves are not a result of the fall, or not sinful. Jesus experienced a full range of emotions that we do. The great theologian B.B. Warfield, he studied specific emotions in the life of Jesus. He says, when we read the four Gospels carefully, the most common emotion in the life of Jesus is compassion. Right? We've been talking about compassion earlier. Here, B.B. Warfield, he says the most common emotion in the life of Jesus is compassion. And for this, he gives various examples to help us see that, not only was Jesus compassionate in his actions, but he actually felt inner turmoil. He felt inner turmoil and pity when he came across people who were unfortunate. Like when he came across the blind person, the lame person, even people who are sad, who are emotionally, physically, relationally hurting, his heart responded with a profound feeling of pity for all of these people. So, B.B. Warfield says that the most common emotion in the life of Jesus is compassion. See, for example, in Matthew chapter 20, we see two blind men, in fact, they are begging for a sight. In another example, we see a leper who is begging for cleansing in Mark chapter 1. We also see in Luke chapter 7 a distressed woman. Now, seeing all of these people, Jesus' heart was throbbing with pity. He had compassion, great compassion towards all of these people. Some of us may think that, Jesus is God. He would not have felt compassion as strongly as, as we do. No. Jesus, as I already said, Jesus was not half God and half man. He was fully God and fully man. And as fully man, he experienced all emotions without sin. Now here's the key point. Because he was perfect, holy and pure, he experienced compassion even more, to a much greater extent than what we could feel. See, for example, let me give you an example. Now, as I already said, emotions are not a result of the fall. Our human emotions have been tainted by sin because of the fall. பாவத்தினால அந்த ஒரு இம்பாக்ட் வந்து emotions மேல இருக்குது. ஆனா emotionsே வந்து பாவம்னு சொல்றது வந்து தவறு. Now example சொல்றேன் பாருங்க. Let's say you are walking down the street where there are beggars and lepers on either side, and you look at them. Some of the lepers, they are in a very bad state. They don't have teeth, they have nothing to eat, they haven't been eating for days, and so on and so forth. Right? That picture down the street as you are walking on either side with these beggars and lepers who are suffering in their lives, both physically, emotionally, in every way they are suffering. When you look at them, your heart just sinks. You have a little bit of compassion towards them. Even though that's not total compassion, at least it is shallow compassion. See, that is because the fall has had an effect on us. Sin has had an effect on us, even our emotions. Fallen emotions that are tainted by sin, not only do they sinfully overreact, but they also sinfully underreact. They sinfully overreact as well as at times they sinfully underreact. Imagine this for us who are humans, who have sinful nature in us, who are living in a sinful world. Now, if this is for us, sinful people as we are, now imagine Jesus with perfect emotions, with no stain of sin in him. Imagine him laying his eyes on his leper. What would unrestrained emotions of compassion look like? Something which is not bound by limits, something which is not stained by sin. How does that compassion look like? It would be an overflowing compassion. So this is what Jesus felt when he looked on the men and women and the boys and girls who are in sadness, in sickness and in pain and in misery. His compassion perfect, unfiltered compassion. And this is exactly the same way that he feels when he looks at you and me today. He looks at you and me with perfect, unfiltered compassion that is unrestrained, not limited or tainted by sin at all. And this is exactly what he feels when he looks at you and me today. It is perfect, unfiltered compassion. And in fact, when you are undergoing pain, in your suffering, in your misery, he feels it more deeply than you do because of his overflowing compassion towards you.